All right. If you haven't gotten enough of me today, I'm back. Kim Hayden here with Kim Talks Resilience. And we've got something new happening here in the studio. We are going to start coming to you live 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time every Tuesday. And my next guest, my next guest, she has agreed to be the very first person that gets me this late in the evening. So this is like no holds barred. Like, this is just going to be crazy because around this time of night is like I'm either wide awake or falling asleep. So let's hope I stay awake. Real quick, Kim Talks Resilience is where we share stories and insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. But first, a word from our sponsor. Be sure to stop by www.queenofresilient.shop. Queenofresilient.shop is an online boutique where you can straighten your crown, shop around, and buy a little something snazzy at queenofresilient.shop. See, I get my opportunity to do my like whole Ed McMahon thing there, right? All right, this evening's guest, the first Tuesday night here at Kim Talks Resilience is Jessica Malone. And this is going to be really a lot of fun because she's going to bring some coolness to this podcast. We got somebody a little bit younger, so we're going to get some better insight. She told me, she goes, I don't do Facebook, but I've got Instagrams. And so I'm going, what's that? But okay, so she's a lifestyle design strategist who is recently featured in, get this, Forbes for her amazing results and insights. Her passion is helping her clients identify and commit to the vision of their lives and design a life aligned with their values. Jessica leveraged the power of life design to get back in touch with her own gifts of resiliency, motivation, compassion, and strength. She then used these gifts to bet on herself. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. She used this to bet on herself. And when she left her cushy corporate job to join the jungle of business ownership. But first, did we mention she's been in Forbes? Seriously. Welcome, Jessica. Did I totally?
Hi.
Don't mind me. Like I said, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. This is past my bedtime. I don't know who set this time up. Forbes. Okay, so first, before we go down the Forbes, before we tackle, I'd like the one line in there where before we tackle the you bet on yourself. I really do like that. That's pretty cool. And a cushy job. I'm glad somebody had a cushy job. My husband makes me work. Do you see the new hours I have? But okay, first, everybody get your ticket because it's only going downhill from here. Jessica, who are you? Who are you?
Oh gosh, that's a big question, but I would say the quick facts are born and raised in Texas. I'm from Dallas originally, grew up in the suburbs in Frisco, which a lot of people are familiar with, but when I was growing up, nobody knew where that was, but it has boomed over the years. I love to eat, big foodie. That's part of where I'm from, and I'm sure we can talk about that as well, but I love Tex-Mex food. And so that's part of how this whole started. I had spent the majority of my life, just kind of doing what I thought was expected, go to school, get good grades, right? Get the good job, have a retirement fund that's growing. And I'm an only child. So, me and my parents, we were the three musketeers. If they said I should do it, I did it, and so I was just a very obedient child, but also I became this really successful high achiever, checking off all of the boxes. And in my mid 20s, which I know before this, you were like, what are you, like 20 something? I'm like, no, I'm like in my 30s now. But in my mid 20s, I just reached a point where I felt like, okay, I've done all of these things. I've checked all of these boxes, but like, I don't feel fulfilled, like I'm not like so inspired by the life that I am living. That's when I just started on this journey of self-discovery, which at first was becoming a food blogger, which I think is like the most millennial thing I've ever. So I was just posting pictures of my food on Instagram, and I thought it was a thing. But it led me down this greater path of figuring out, well, what do I really want to do? I like my thoughts, and I like sharing my pictures, and that morphed into creating a blog, which then turned into a blog about minimalism, and minimalism brought me to where I am today. Decluttered my life, shared it with the world, and then I turned it into a coaching business, and that's where Nacho Average Pro has brought me.
Okay, and real quick, the name of your company. Please share that.
Nacho
Nice and
Average
slow.
Pro. Nacho Pro. Nacho like the chip. A lot of people think it's not but it's nacho, like the nacho chip.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. I knew I'd like you as soon as I saw the name of your company. I had to look at it twice. It's like, I get that. That's funny. What's your degree in?
Marketing. Yeah, marketing and international business.
So you've got a bit of a leg up. That's what I'm finding with a lot of the women in their 30s. They got a little bit of a leg up on this whole online. I look at it and it's like, can I just go knock on somebody's door? Avon calling. Unfortunately, even Avon has an online program now. Okay, so you have a marketing degree. So that is great that you have that. And so let's dive in Dallas, by the way. Like Texas is on fire. You got half of California there now. It's getting a little crowded. It's making all the newses. Good, bad, or ugly, doesn't matter. It's making all the newses. So it's what now, the fourth or fifth largest economy globally now.
That sounds about right.
Texas surpassed Canada for its economy. It used to just be, California, but now it's California and Texas both surpassed Canada's economy. So, okay, so you're in a great place. Yep. You're in a great place because Dallas is culturally one of the coolest cities in the States. It's like, I was looking at some of the conferences, and I'm looking at the conferences, and like, who was there? I think it was, Sir Richard Branson was there 5 months ago. Yep, 5 months ago. The tickets were only $15,000. So I knew Dallas had made it. Dallas was there. That's where you want to be. The man of Virgin Airlines is landing, and if you got 15 grand, you can have coffee with them. I'm going, yeah, okay. He's not going to Wichita, where I'm from. That would have to be, everybody would have to put their trailers together to find the 15,000. But okay, so I diverse. It's 7:00. Okay, so we've got a marketing degree. You've gotten rid of everything in your place. You've gone minimalist. You've made it public. Now you're not going to use the degree that your parents helped you get.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like? Let's dive into that first, because we could maybe help many people. So what did your parents think?
So that's really interesting story. And I should have added, I feel like I left a big chunk out. So when I left my corporate job, I also left to go live out of a van, as well as launch this entrepreneurial endeavor. So if anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, I have a very funny reel about what it was like when I told my parents about that journey. But before van life even came into the picture, it was a mixed bag. My dad has been an entrepreneur my entire life. So he's always kind of coached me, and he's been in sales for the most part in his journey. And I was in sales for 5 years. Like, sales is something that I feel is in me. Entrepreneurship feels a little bit second nature, so I think for him, it's not a surprise that I'm doing this. I'm really walking in his footsteps in that sense. But my mom, she of course wants me to have security, to be safe, to be a roof over my head and well fed. And so I think for her, as much as she loves what I do and also knows, having been with my dad, like, there are a lot of ups and downs. This is going to be over. So she just always wants the best for me. And they were very interested in me keeping my job. They really wanted me to stay, but I felt like
Strong
I gotta
encouragement.
do this. I
Oh,
had to
that's
go.
too funny. I wish I had been a fly on that wall. Uh, so let's go. Let's go into what do you do aside from being absolutely charming and amazing with a wicked smile? What do you do?
Thank you. So I coach high achievers to declutter their life so that they can build better habits and achieve their most fulfilling goals. What a lot of high achievers, and this is my experience as well, is that we are very successful, right? On paper or to the outside world, we have accomplished so much. But when we're at home, in our quiet moments, there's so much that we long for. And so I really help high achievers declutter the things that are tied to the expectations so that they can really make room for the goals that are most important to them.
Okay, so what does that look like? So walk me through this.
Yeah.
And I think that younger people, honestly, are far more intense because they're so high focused. We've had a lot of this language around.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of uh, opportunity language. I'm trying to think of the word. I think Napoleon Hill. I think there's some terms around this, but basically, I think that our 30-year-olds have been raised with a different type of way that we not only internalize but also externalize when we're running into a challenge. When we want to create opportunity, we change the paradigm around the language itself. Whereas
Mm.
older people like myself, we weren't raised in that fashion, so there is. I don't think we're as focused. A lot of us are not as focused as younger people are.
Mm.
And I could see where the need for decluttering the mind
Mhm.
would come because I have a 24-year-old son, and sometimes I go to him for advice because this kid's sharp. It's like, whose kid are you? You can't be mine. I'm out chasing squirrels. Meanwhile, this kid knows exactly what is next. He's like, okay, mom, when you get in, we'll talk about how you're going to phrase this and what your response email is going to be. Okay.
Oh.
But so what does this look like when you get a client? What does this look like?
Yeah. So first it starts by, I love what you said about decluttering the mind, because that is really where everything stems from, right? We start by understanding what is their perception on the world and in what way is it cluttered and keeping them from what they truly want. So for the high achiever, clutter is almost always tied to the expectations of others, mostly their parents, but it can also be like industry related if they're really focused on achieving in their work. It can also be friends. It can also be what they've seen on social media. It can be a mix of these things, but for the most part you see it coming back to their parents. And something that I hear a lot is like, my mom or my dad wanted me to do this. My parents paid for me to go to school. My parents were so proud when and they insert the accomplishments, right? And for a lot of them, that's where they've put a lot of their worth. So there's a laundry list of things that they want to accomplish, but in their mind, they don't think they're capable of achieving it or that it's valuable, which I find really intriguing because it's like we are so successful in what we do generally. It's strange to think that we think that we're not capable of achieving these other goals, but we really have a different standard. If someone hasn't already validated it for us, then we really don't see it as an option in our minds. So we start by understanding what they want and what's happening in their mind. And then I take them through a process of identifying, when these thoughts come into your mind, often feel, what do you often do? And that helps us identify how they create in their physical environment. And that physical environment, what they learn over time, declutter, is that physical environment is reflecting back those beliefs and keeping them in a cycle of believing that they can focus on the things that are important to them.
And it's interesting that you bring. Okay, so we're going to circle back around to the next stage of what you do once we
Mhm.
declutter the mind. But before we go there, because my mind is old and I got to keep track, it's squirrels. Squirrels, somebody shoot the squirrel, please. you said something that I found very interesting. What is your take on 19 and 20 and 21-year-olds going to university and dropping, you know, 50 or $100,000 on an education right out of school? Just out of curiosity. You can say it. You're
Um,
amongst friends.
yeah, I think that we're too young to be making that kind of decision, to be honest. I think we don't know enough about what we want. So we commit to these degrees and these tracks. We pay all this money, then we get out of college and we realize, oh, you know what? There's something else I'd actually rather do. I think if I went back to school now, I'm degree. So I think we're a little young to be making those decisions and probably need a little bit more life experience before we go into college.
I agree. I say find every resort now that we're out of COVID, find every resort and get a job waiting tables. Meet people, talk to
Mhm,
people, travel the
mhm,
world. Like,
mhm.
you know, I do worry about that whole your because the brain's not even fully developed for a female until she's 24 and a male till he's 27. Or in some cases they could be 47, 67. Sometimes they never develop. But most males will develop by 27.
Right.
So, okay, so back to what you do. So we're getting their head in the right space.
Yep.
You mentioned about the decluttering of the physical space also.
Yes.
So share with me what that looks like. Oh no, you froze.
Yeah. So that really is just a process of
You're back. Okay,
okay.
go ahead.
So that is really comes down to like thinking about their goals and what's holding them back. Is it confidence? Is it discipline? Is it clarity? And then decluttering the room associated with that thing. So every room in your home is tied to a different kind of aspect of your life. And we start their decluttering process in that particular space. And that's where they work through and do some journaling. It's really important to me that clients about their experience, journal about the stuff and what. So they come in and I get this kind of picture of what's happening in their mind. But when they go through the process of decluttering in their environment, they see it reflected back and they start to gather these insights and think, oh, I do this. This is what my frequent thought process is. And this is why I'm stuck. This is what I'm doing that's actually keeping me stuck.
Interesting. And we hear a lot about your space and what your space says about you. We
Mm-hmm.
see, we see many top thought leaders talk about editing or decluttering your space.
Mm-hmm.
And my background is 20 years licensed real estate that happened to fall into show hosting. So it's because I had a TV show before this, just because they saw a commercial I did for real estate and thought I was just unique enough. And just so you know, if you call your children unique, folks, we know what that word means. So, but I know that I talk about editing space so that your space shows the story of value
Mm-hmm.
and space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And will attract the same person that you were when you purchased the space, right?
Right.
So that's what you're looking for. So, okay, so they've come in, you're working on their mind, their space, you're getting them in a different frame. So their perspective, their paradigm is shifting, right?
Yes.
Um, and you say high achieving. So are a lot of these people coming out of what was an expected corporate space and are shifting into an entrepreneurship space?
Of times, the majority of my clients have some entrepreneurial aspiration, but it's a range. If they're in their late 20s, I usually get them around late 20s. That's when we realize, like, oh, maybe I want to do something different, right? Going into about their mid 30s, that's where I see entrepreneurship being a really big aspiration. But I also have a large audience that comes from the like 55 and up group, and they are their dreams, but it's generally around like travel, hobbies that they didn't pursue. So it's a mixed bag. But I've seen a gamut of things: weight loss results, launch of businesses, getting back in touch with hobbies. It really can impact so many different aspects of your life.
And when you started down this journey yourself, what was the studies or the thought leaders within that space? Who did you learn from? Because we all learn. Somebody's
Yeah,
always in that space ahead of us, right? So who did you
sure.
learn from, and what was the studies or the programs that you adopted yourself or modified?
Yeah, so I followed the minimalists at first. I actually was, when all of this started, I was just reading books on mindfulness, and Amazon recommended a 21-day minimalism challenge. I didn't know anything about minimalism, but I was like, you know what? I'm pretty miserable. So, like, if this works, fine, I'm cool with it. And so I got into minimalism that way, then started following the minimalists. Those were a lot of the big ones that I followed, and really piecing together those different things. I think that is how my program came to be. And there's a concept that I share called the Clutter Cycle, and it's that cycle of cluttered thinking that creates a cluttered action that creates a cluttered environment. And over the years, I didn't even realize that was like, that's like something that happens just generally. It's tied to human behavior, that thought action result. I didn't realize that. And so recently I've also been studying Brooke Castillo, who has the model of shifting your thoughts to create new actions and new results. So I feel like my program reflects that. Even though I didn't know about her and I didn't know about that concept, it's deeply ingrained in what I do.
Well, and it's interesting because Shakespeare is quoted in saying that there's only 7 original storylines. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that we all move through these storylines given, whatever space or time or whatever paradigm we're working within at that
Right.
moment.
Right.
So it's I think we tend to attract when we start putting the vibe out, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that as soon as I shifted my language and got very clear on what I love to do, all of a sudden the
Mm-hmm.
attraction came into play, and
Mm-hmm.
the conversations are deeper and better. Oh, and I have
Yes.
entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is one that where you can have two storylines at any given time, and sometimes running simultaneously. Where it's a story, it's an inspiring story or a cautionary tale, all at the same moment. It just depends on which perception you're looking, which
I
lens
know
you're
that
looking
all too
through.
well.
Something really cool happens, and then you look at the bank balance. Okay. And it's
So
okay.
true.
It's okay. It's okay. And you were talking about women over 50. The reality, or people over 50 that are coming to you also
Yeah.
that are going through the same journey. What's
Yeah.
fascinating is in the great resignation. What we're seeing right now, women over 40 are the largest segment of people stepping
Mm.
away from corporate America, saying, you know what, I need to explore something on my own. I need to have that. And because of the new world we're in, right?
Yes.
We're in this new the knowledge, the age of knowledge, right?
Yep.
Women, we don't have to lift big heavy things. We don't have to build cars. The world no longer is in survival. We're now in the acquisition and understanding of everything around
Mm-hmm.
us knowledge wise, right? So
Mm-hmm.
before we
Mm-hmm.
go into a deeper understanding of why you're doing what you're doing,
Yes.
I want everybody to take a moment right now. Go real quick. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Because remember, sharing is caring. And that's not just for Care Bears. And Jessica, this is fully sober. I'm just telling you, this is my natural mode. This is
I
why
love
my
it.
children are like, you know, they all come for Sunday dinner because they never know what mom they're going to get. Um, so thought, action, results. Thought, action,
Yes.
results. I love that. That's like challenge, uh, challenge, choice, and consequence, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
whole sequence of things. So we've talked about the decluttering
Yes.
mind and space, right? And
Yep.
creating the space that will contribute to productivity, to the progress that you're looking for in your life. Because, folks, if you're looking for perfection, it only happens the day you die. So, always progress. So, let's go through why. first of all, why you? And then second of all, why people should do this?
Hmm. Now, when you say why me, why did I decide to launch this?
Why
Or
should we follow?
why,
No,
yeah,
why
why did
should we follow you? Why should we learn from you?
I?
Why should we listen to you?
I think my favorite part I do is that my is so deeply ingrained in it. I practice what I preach. Everything that I teach, I've done. I mean, I lived out of a van. That's pretty minimalist. Before that, I went through the decluttering 2 and 3 times, and I did the journaling and I shed the tear and I let things go and then realized like, oh my gosh, maybe I didn't want to let with that guilt. And it changed my life, and so I'm passionate about it because before I cluttering, I too was in this place of feeling like there just has to be more to life. And a lot of people who work with an old soul, and I feel that way. I feel like that moment came to me very, very early in my life. That place where you just feel like it has to be something greater than what I'm doing day in and day out. And I know that I'm capable of more. It helped me lose weight. I've down like over 45 pounds since I started this whole journey. Left my job, launched a business, friends, got back into playing the piano, my piano. So I think why me is just like, I really believe that this can change your life because I happen in my life. And now I've seen it happen in the lives of so many other people.
And you know what? Lead by example. That is always the best leaders to follow are the ones that lead by example. It's why we see greats like Tony Robbins that are, still greats because he leads by example. Um,
Mm-hmm.
why should people out there, why should they be looking at adopting some, maybe not
Sure.
all. My
Sure.
kids would like me to declutter because they know when I croak, there's going to be a lot of crap to go through. But that's how I plan on torturing my children. I'm going to become a hoarder in the last 5 years. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But why should people do this? What's the science behind, how does it help the health, both physically and mentally and emotionally, all of it? What's the science behind this?
The science is that I like to break it down this way, just kind of giving you a metaphor, not even to get too sciencey, but more just like a metaphor. When you're moving to a new house, a new apartment, a new house, whatever, right? It's totally empty. And that emptiness reflects a level of possibility. You start dreaming up all the different things that you can do with that space, right? And so I think about our lives in that same way. We're not babies, right? So we all have a lot of that we have carried with us mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, etc. over the years. And by letting go and creating a little bit of space wherever that may be, you finally get that sense of possibility again. Things feel like, wow, I really could do anything. And so I always tell my clients, like, my goal is not to turn into a minimalist. I'm a minimalist. I have chosen for my life. My goal is for you to learn the skill of decluttering because you will always need to know how to let go to tap into that possibility whenever you're ready to make a change in your life.
So not everybody, you don't have to get rid of all your stuff in order
No.
to adopt this methodology,
Yeah.
this perceptions, this
Yeah.
belief, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. Because I don't know if you see all the crap behind me. I really don't want to contribute to a landfill, and none of my kids are going to keep all that. Okay,
No, you don't
so
have to let it go.
okay. Um, so right now is around the time that I really want to dive into resilience, right?
Yeah.
And we all have been through challenges, be it in our childhood, in our young adulthood, in careers, personal relationships, whatever. Could you share with us, are you comfortable in sharing with us a moment in time that without resilience, you would not be sitting in that chair having this conversation?
Yeah, so this is something I only recently just started talking about, actually. But a couple of years ago, back in 2020, left my job as I mentioned, a van. And as the planner that I am, I had saved a ton of money. I actually got severance from my company. Like all the stars really like aligned, and so I had a lot of cash that I was sitting on top of. And I thought, okay, this is gonna last me at least a year, but it really could stretch two if I play my cards right. But as you know, entrepreneurship, alongside the amazing story, there's also something really crazy happening in the background. And that money ran out really fast. We then fiance and we had gotten into a business deal that we thought was going to help us have even more cash. And the guy ran off with our money, which was about 7.5 months worth of living expenses. And so then, we had to live and eat and all of these different things, grow, etc. And within like a year of starting that journey, I was down to my last $1,000. Wow. I can't even believe how quick it seemed to evaporate. And I really thought about giving up. I really thought, maybe this isn't for me. Like I had a great plan, like the plan just tanked. I was going to have to call my parents. I started driving Uber. I started driving Postmates. It was not coming in as fast as I really did it to. And I think that was probably my lowest in years since I've left my job, because it made me second guess everything. I was on such a high when I left my job and I felt so confident, knew I was going to make this work. And then when the money ran out and at the same time our van started breaking down, it was like the whole plan just fell from, like the bottom fell out. And I started thinking about all the things people had said. It doesn't work out, you can always come back. And they weren't necessarily naysayers, but they were always thinking about the plan B, if you know what I mean. And so I just started thinking like they were right. And maybe I made a big mistake and maybe I should just let this whole thing go. But I stuck it out for a little while longer because I really wanted to see the dream through. And 30 days later, I was featured in Forbes. I booked 3 clients. And then a few months after that, I had my first celebrity client. So it was like a whirlwind, but that felt like my make or break moment. Like now, then that'll probably be it. Like if I had given up then, I don't think I would have picked it back up, and if I did, it would have just been a hobby. But I felt like, you did this because you really wanted to test yourself and challenge yourself and have an experience that shows that you can trust yourself. So I tried to just lean into myself just a little bit longer, just hold on. And everything just turned around after that. It really felt like, they say sometimes people, they give up right before it's about to get good. And I feel like I had hit that point, but something told me to just keep going.
Yeah, the darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
The darkest before the dawn. There's a saying called burning the boats. So the marauders, the Vikings would land on the shores and they would burn the boats. And they didn't burn the boats to scare the villagers. They didn't burn the boats because, it made great fireworks. They burned the boats because they had no intention of leaving the job half done. And that is the scariest thing to do. That is the scariest thing to do. And people are always they're always saying, "Oh, you can come back if it doesn't work out." It's almost like their goal is that you won't be able to make it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, what is the advice you would give somebody who has who are Who is down? I hear this story from a lot of women. We heard it from Lisa Nichols. Lisa Nichols when she had her son, and I love Lisa Nichols, and the reason I love Lisa Nichols because her and I had our sons around the same time, and we both went to the bank and had less than $11 in the bank for diapers. Right?
Wow.
That absolute terrifying feeling. She was told never to speak. She was told she should never be a speaker. Her university instructor told her never to be a speaker.
Wow.
Yeah. So knowing that human nature, humans by nature, 50% of people, so the average IQ is in the United States and in North America in general, is 100. That's the average IQ. 50% of people are going to be, unable to comprehend the life you want to live. And it's easier, and we see this in social media, we see this in so many things. It's easier to try and bring somebody down to the level of which you're comfortable than to try to raise up to where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
What is when somebody is sitting there and it's really dark before that dawn and they're really afraid?
Mm-hmm.
What's some advice, something that you learned that you could share with them?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. I mean, it feels very cliche, but the first thing, of course, is don't give up, right? Like, it's. I think that I had to tap back into like why I started this. Like why did I do this? Tap back into that feeling the day I said I was gonna quit my job. Like, why was I confident? And really run those accomplishments back in your mind. Like, you have to protect your mind. It's so I protect your mind so that you don't give up. And thinking about all of the good that I had seen in my own and also the people's lives that I had touched made me feel like, okay, like you are on something. You just keep going. Like, so many good things have happened. You just have to run its course, and I wish I could give people like a timeline, like just if you just wait 60 days, it's going to happen. And we don't know what that looks like, but I think that it's about protecting your mind and protecting your energy. And with that, if you need isolation, take time to have certain people you feel you can trust with those thoughts and those feelings, share them, get the encouragement that you need. I think those are the two biggest things, for being that person for yourself that will carry you through, and just keep running that thought track of why you did this and why it's such a good idea and all that stuff. And just hold out. And I remember there was a coach I followed who said, like, 3 years, give it 3 and see how it goes. And I was only in year 1, so that felt very far off. I kept that in my mind. Like, most businesses fail, small businesses fail within the first. Just give it your all for at least 3, and then make a decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And give it all. Burn the boats. Make it happen. There's no going back. If you know you're committed moving forward, just keep moving forward. And those thoughts
Yeah.
that create the actions that will get you the results. Um,
Yeah.
so, real quick, share with us where people can find you, follow you, connect with you.
It's real simple. I like to keep that minimal too. I am on Instagram at Nacho Average Fro. That's NACHO Average Fro. And then also find me on my website at www.nachoaveragefro.com.
Amazing, Nacho. Nacho Libre. I love that. Um, so I'd love for you to close us out with a quote, something that you've always loved, maybe something your mom shared with you, maybe anything. What's a quote?
Yeah. Yeah. Big quote that happened for me, or that I heard, I should say, earlier in my entrepreneurial journey was, everything is created twice, first in thought and then in kind. That resonates with me, and I think also has guided a lot of my coaching program. Just remembering that whatever you think, it will come to fruition today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. So focus on the thoughts that you create.
Amazing. And you heard it right here, folks. It's not your average fro, and it's not your average information coming from Jessica Malone. Nachos. I feel like nachos now. Okay, so that's it for me today. Welcome to my first and could possibly be my last if anybody I don't know.
No
I'm going
way.
to get banned on this platform. I had way too much fun with you today, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, if you feel your resiliency is lagging, be sure to listen and lean in to our resilient community. You can join us easy, totally easy, free, no credit cards needed. We're not going to do a sneaky renewal fee, nothing like that. You can go to resilientgift.com for your free membership. We do a monthly magazine. You'll be even seeing, once we've got Jessica fully live on all of our podcasts and blogging platforms, we're even going to put her into our magazine because this is a story worth listening, reading, and picking up over and over again. So, this is where we celebrate and showcase female founders, coaches, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, and those who aspire to be any and all of the above. Until next time, I am Kim Hayden, and I'm honored that you shared your time with me because I know that our time is the most valuable resource we have. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Jessica.